June marked 45 years since Robert F. Kennedy was shot at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles. He had just claimed victory in the California Democratic primary for president. The role of a doctor who tried to save Kennedy had been lost to history, but not to his family. His daughter is here. She's our Michelle Miller. Michelle, good morning.
Good morning. This is a very personal story, part of my own family lore. Growing up, my father used to talk about how he rushed to Senator Kennedy's side, but not until my own son dared me to prove it did I look for the evidence to back up what my dad had told me.
With calm precision, Dr. Ross Miller described to CBS News correspondent Terry Drinkwater the tragedy that had unfolded backstage hours earlier.
Can you describe the senator's wounds?
Well, they were a mass of blood, and he had head injuries. The extent of them could not be ascertained immediately.
I never knew this interview existed. Few did. It was buried deep within the CBS News archives.
How did Mrs. Kennedy appear to take this?
Well, obviously she was terribly upset. I thought she handled herself excellently. She was not in a state of panic. She was deeply concerned about her husband.
My father campaigned for Kennedy and became his delegate. A Compton city councilman, he believed the senator was the best hope for bridging the nation's economic and racial divide. He and hundreds of supporters were celebrating Kennedy's victory in the California primary.
Now it's on to Chicago, and let's win there. Thank you very much.
When panic rippled through the ballroom.
Is there a doctor in the house, please? It's very important.
5 rushed backstage to help, including my father, a trauma surgeon. Kennedy's friend Paul Schrade, a union official who shared the stage with him just minutes earlier, was the first person who went down. He took a bullet to the head while standing next to the senator.
There's still a dent there. The bullet went into first layer skull and out.
You're lucky.
Very lucky. If I'd been an inch taller, it really would have got me.
Dr. Marvin Ursher saw Schrade bleeding on the floor.
You check him. There's another doctor there.
Right.
Who was that doctor? Do you know?
I don't know.
It was just that chaotic.
Right. I was concentrating on the task at hand.
Schrade was drifting in and out of consciousness. He has virtually no memory of that night.
So this is what we found in the CBS News archives.
How many others were hit, Doctor?
I know of 2 others. I also took care of Paul Schrade. He had a deep laceration of the forehead, and although he had a great deal of blood loss and there was a lot of blood around, apparently his injuries are not critical.
Paul, to see this and to see how he knew your name.
Yeah.
And he...
Well, this is a real surprise for me because, you know, I didn't see him for one thing, but now I know that he was there and helping. How can I express my gratitude for that except to say to you that you had a great father?
In all, there were 6 shooting victims, including journalist Ira Goldstein and William Wiesel, Democratic Party activist Elizabeth Evans, and Kennedy campaign volunteer Erwin Stroll. Everyone except Kennedy survived. My father died in 1996 without ever again seeing the people he had helped. 2 publications cited his service, a cover story in Jet magazine, and a photo caption in Life. But I couldn't find him in the picture. So we tracked down the man who took it, Bill Epridge.
So who is identified as Dr. Ross Miller in that picture?
I don't know.
Epridge was responsible for many of the iconic images from that night.
Now I backed into the crowd. I'm holding the crowd back. Cameras around my neck. And every once in a while I would reach down and go like that. That's how this picture was made.
But of all the pictures he took, it seemed none captured my father tending the injured. For decades, Epridge said he couldn't talk about that night with anyone who was there with him.
I find it quite difficult. So we all know what would have happened.
What would have happened?
The country would be in a far better place, I believe, had he become president.
The loss of Kennedy so traumatized Epridge, he fled to the mountains of Montana. Paul Schrade sought solace in the desert. Eventually, both found their sense of purpose. Schrade in helping to build the Robert F. Kennedy Community Schools on the former site of the Ambassador Hotel.
So Bob Kennedy was speaking, standing about here.
The ballroom where Kennedy gave his final speech is now the library that bears Schrade's name. Epridge went on to publish 2 books on Bobby Kennedy, and he allowed us to go through some of his unpublished photos. That's when something jumped out at me.
Bill, I think we may have found him.
What?
I think we may have found him.
Let me see.
It's a picture inside the Good Samaritan Hospital. There in the corner, standing just outside of Kennedy's room, the good Dr. Miller.
Yes, it's him.
It's him.
That's him.
Finally, the photographic proof that my dad actually did what he said. My family history forever intertwined with the night that may have changed the course of American history.
Thank you.
All right. All right.
And after we first aired this report, I was contacted by dozens of people who said they knew my father and had been helped by him. Bill Epridge passed away sadly in October, and his contributions to photography and history live on.
Incredible story. Thank you, Michelle.